is June because I was born in June. Welcome to another episode of Amazing Entrepreneur Story. So today it's my pleasure to have Luli here today. So she's the founder and CEO at Blooming Founders and also the publisher of Dear Female Founder Book. Hey Luli, thank you so much for being on our show today.
Hi June, it's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so can you tell us more about Blooming Founders?
Sure. So I founded Blooming Founders 5 years ago in London. And the reason why I founded is because I was looking to, start up my own business. I moved to London in 2014 and I was working as a freelance consultant first. But then, I wanted to kind of build something bigger than sort of like almost like freelancing, as a consultant. And I was attending a lot of events in the London startup ecosystem, and it was all very exciting, like a lot of pitch events, networking and all that. So I really enjoyed it, but I kind of like noticed that a lot of the other participants were male, and a lot of them also were white as well. So I was like, okay, well, that's interesting. Why are not there that many women, around, right? So I sort of started hosting events myself, but targeting them at female entrepreneurs. And so that's how everything started. So we have been operating as an events kind of company over the last 5 years until COVID hit. And we also launched a co-working space, because obviously hosting events and producing kind of conferences and like all sorts of events and running a co-working space is actually quite complementary. So that's what we have been doing for the last 5 years. But, the pandemic hit and now I have to completely reinvent the company and we're moving things to online now.
No, actually everything, I've checked through your research. I looked through your LinkedIn. I think whatever you have done is really, really very fantastic because I think you started your entrepreneur journey since you were, when you were very young, starting from eBay, right?
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God, so my eBay, that probably shows my age now, but my eBay account dates back to 1999. So I signed up to eBay, and I still remember actually on the 1st of April 1999.
Wow.
And my first auction ever. That's like so Asian now, right? But so I love talking to you. Like my first auction ever was a set of 6 Sailor Moon trading cards that I used to get from China. And because I was living in Germany and Sailor Moon kind of was just kind of like up and coming then, whereas in Asia it has gone for many seasons already, right? So it was very unique, and obviously the marketplace at the time was very small. So I sold, and we still had Deutschmarks. We didn't have euros back then. So I still sold 6 Sailor Moon trading cards for 30. So I started with 5 marks, right? And it ended up at 36.
Oh my God.
So that's 18 euros these days, or $20 US today, in today's terms, for 6 trading cards that would cost me 20 cents or something, right? Back in China.
Okay,
so I was like, this is amazing.
That was when you were in college, or how old?
Yeah. I was 16. I was 16 at the time, and like many, I guess maybe other Asian kids, my mom would not give me any pocket money, basically, right? Right. So she was like, if you want to have money, you have to work for it yourself. And I was tutoring actually when I was kind of 14, 15, at school, right? So I was just tutoring very stereotypical math and all of that stuff to younger students. And then I discovered the internet and I discovered eBay, and then I was like, oh my God, I can sell everything I have in my children's room, basically all of this shit that I bought in the last couple of years. So I mentioned to you before, I was born in Beijing and moved to Germany when I was 6. But I used to go back to China every other sort of summer holiday. And that's when you buy random stuff, basically, right? As a child. And so basically I was like, oh my God, I can sell everything. And so I started with Sailor Moon trading cards. Then I moved on to Pokemon when, Pokemon came up. Then I moved on to and then, we had mobile, we started to have mobile phones, right? 2000, 2001, 2002. And do you still remember like the flip phones?
Flip? You mean Samsung flip phone?
Yeah, exactly. Like Samsung flip phones or Motorola's were super
Yeah,
popular,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because it had like
Motorola. Yeah.
Nokia like brick, or you had like the Motorola flip phone. And then I imported Hello Kitty like phone charms, so you can like the thing that you put onto your
Yeah.
phone, right? And I sold those in Germany because it didn't exist, right?
Okay.
It was so Asian in that sense. But people like there's like lots of Hello Kitty fans in Germany as well. So yeah, so that's how I started.
So you're actually very entrepreneurial thinking when you were very young back then, right? So after that, you're still young. So after that, right? So what brings you to what you're doing right now, Blooming Founders? Because you
It
told
was
me
like
that
a
you
whole
attended a
detour.
lot of like events, right?
Yeah.
What happened in between?
Oh my God, it was like a whole detour. I mean, I think a lot of Asian, again, people can probably resonate. Like, so I did all of like the eBay, like,
Mhm.
selling, trading stuff when I was at high school. And then I graduated and then I joined, I attended business school because then, I thought, oh, now real life starts, right? So now you have to prepare for your career, you have to prepare for whatever, right? Like, so getting a job and being really good at school and stuff. So yeah, so basically I did business school. And then I started my career at McKinsey, in Munich. I didn't really quite like it. And also I graduated in 2008, so into the last recession. So it was quite like a tough time actually back then. And thankfully, because I was a very good student, I had two job offers. I had one from McKinsey and one from Procter and Gamble in Switzerland. And I had done like an internship at P&G in Switzerland before. So I was like, okay, I'm going to join P&G because, it's nicer and whatever. So then I joined P&G and was in brand marketing. So I done that then for like, my corporate career for about like 4 years, led brand kind of like innovations on Pantene. So I was working on hair care. I was launching shampoos, conditioners, treatments, and it was all really good fun. But then I kind of like realized after 4 years, I'm not really like, I don't really see my future in the corporate world. I was way too kind of, like innovative in my thinking and lots of ideas all the time, and you just can't really get to implement it that quickly, right? Like you have to
It means
follow the
that you have to a lot of procedure. Your boss needs to
exactly.
approve it. The boss needs to approve
Approvals,
it. Okay.
alignments, and all that. And I was like, oh my God, So so I think, okay, well, I've learned the process of launching a product, building the brand, and all that. So I think, I can probably do something on my own. So I left my job in end of 2012. And then 2013 was really kind of like reorientation, because then, you all of a sudden realize, oh my God, I actually don't know that much. But then I left now, right? So it's done. So then you had to like quickly reinvent yourself and be like, okay, what can I see myself doing, right? Like, and then I was in Switzerland back then still, and then I was like, this is not like the most entrepreneurial environment. Let me go to London and just kind of like see what's up there. I think the first thing that a lot of people do when you leave your job to start your own business is to consult, right? To offer your services and things like that. So then, you have some money coming in while you can still figure out like everything else basically in your life.
Okay.
Yeah. So I did that, and that's how I got to move to London and at the beginning of 2014. Yeah.
I think from you switching from Switzerland to London, was it a big decision for you? Or it was a very easy decision?
It was a fairly easy decision because I make my decisions based on where I can see the future, right? Or where I can see opportunities, right? I did not know at all what would expect me in London. I didn't even know anyone. I had like one friend, I think, at the time. And she was busy, like, like in her work. But I think it's just like, you just kind of see, okay, where is the environment I want to be part of? Right. And London is very international. I'm very international. I've moved around a lot in my life. Right. And it was just like buzzing. Right. I mean, the startup ecosystem was so vibrant. And at the time, right. And I was like, oh, something will come out basically. Right. Like if I immerse myself into that environment, I will just find my path basically. Right. And yeah. And I think that's kind of like, I think what I relied on, just kind of like emotionally. And I was like, I'm sure I'll be fine, basically, right? So yeah.
I think you are the person who makes it sound so easy. I just want to share with you, like whatever you share is very inspiring, because not everybody can do that. Because
I think that people overthink things, right? Like there's like, oh my God, what happens here? What happens there? And I do have to say, I mean, I didn't do it like, I guess there was not, I did like sort of, first of all, I did like, okay, where could I go, right? Like I was living in Zurich at the time, because so I moved from like Geneva to Zurich because it was German speaking. I was like, oh, maybe like, it's a better environment, but it's just like, it just was not the right environment, right? Like it's very small, very kind of like local, right? And there are lots of international people, but they all work for banks and whatnot, right? So not very entrepreneurial people.
Okay.
So then say, okay, where do you go from here? I also looked at New York, to be honest, like, as the other like big city where like lots of stuff was happening. But then I thought, jumping across the pond is probably a bit like, like too far, and like, I would be literally on my own. At least within Europe, like you can still kind of go back like to Germany or visit your friends and things like that. And also I had some savings, right? So I think that's also kind of always quite important to mention. Like I was able to live like without any income for a year, right? Probably even 18 months at the time, if you kind of cut down costs and things like that. Right? So that gave me sort of like, more of a confidence. Like if I had like to earn money right away, I probably wouldn't have done it, to be honest.
Yeah, totally get it. Like, okay, let's say right now there is one thing that you would like to share with our audience and followers, right? If let's say they are in the state of they wanting to make a move, they wanting to make a change, but they just couldn't, what would be some of the advice that you want to give them?
So I think my number one advice is kind of to think about what would you not regret like in the future, right? Like I always operate on like the no regrets kind of like basis. Like if I think that, like if I have a decision to make, I'm standing at a crossroad, right? Like I do A or do B, and like, okay, if I think I would not do A and I would regret that later, I'm gonna go with A, basically, right? And if I think I would also not regret B, I was like, okay, which one would I not regret more, basically?
Okay, totally get it.
Right? So that's kind of like I'm kind of like a no regrets kind of like type of person. That's like a very good benchmark for me to kind of to think about. So that's like one, and then the other thing is kind of like, what, like also think about like what is the worst thing that can happen, right? Because I think a lot of people are afraid of making a decision and moving forward because they're like afraid that it's just going to be like super bad, basically, right? But if you really think about like what is really like the worst thing that can happen, for me, it was like going back to a corporate job, basically, right? Like that's the worst thing. Like I just have to, find a job again, which, sucks. But at the end of the day, like it's not that bad, basically, right? And I think everybody is like, it's kind of like, okay, you have options. You just never really thought about it. And you might feel a bit stuck in your current position because you don't know how to move forward. But you actually, once you actually really think about it, there's many, many ways, and some ways are more riskier than others. But the worst case scenario is actually, if you have work experience and stuff like that. But even if you don't, like you can still work at the supermarket, basically, right? Like it's kind of like, I think and some people, might feel maybe ashamed around these things, but I'm also just like, what, don't care about what other people think of you. Like if that's what you need to do, if you, like, look at all of the actors and actresses in Hollywood, right? How many people have been waiting tables for years and audition until then they got discovered, basically, right?
Very well said.
Right. So I think we have to normalize, like, what success sometimes means and what sometimes is needed to kind of like, take that next step. There's people always want to be like, oh, I did this, and like people always want to have like the glamorous path, basically, right?
They just want to have 100% success, right? Zero failure.
Exactly. They don't want to be seen as kind of like not successful, but then sometimes it is necessary to take a step back and just and that's where like your good friends come in. Like the people who really support you will totally understand, right? Like there's a quote saying like the people who matter won't mind, and the people who mind don't matter, or something.
Oh, very, very good quote.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I really love this. You are very energetic and you are very sunshine, you know. When I see you, I feel like sunshine is over there. It is really, really like golden nuggets for our audience. Like I also understand that you had this online growth summit, and it was your first time having this summit, right? How do you actually got this idea, and then tell us more about that.
Yeah, so the Online Growth Summit happened about 10 days ago now. And it was basically, I was looking for a solution to be like, okay, what do I do next with Blooming Founders, right? Because we used to run physical events, like physical conferences for up to like our biggest one was like about like 300 people. And that was kind of like the typical kind of like business with like networking, with like sessions and breakouts and all of that stuff. And I just felt like it was not really what I wanted to, like it's hard to replicate that in online, basically, right? So I didn't do anything for like the last 5 months. And then with the Online Growth Summit, I kind of like decided to come back and still engage with the audience, you know, like in the online space, but now focus more on education. So we had less of like the networking and breakouts and all of that stuff, but more focused on like the speakers, right? And I think it's this beginning of my transition for Blooming Founders to kind of move into a educational kind of like company, right? So that was like kind of the original idea, to kind of re-engage like our current audience, but also reach new audiences, right? Because it's online, you don't have to be based in London anymore to attend, right? So the format of the summit is a really good model to increase your reach for free. So it's free organic, reach, and engage with other people, like your peers, right? Like yourself, June, right? So other people who are also building or have audiences online who can benefit from, you know, the content, basically, right? So the summit is really like a great model to just kind of like engage. It's a great engagement tool. And it helps you to network with your peers, right? Because you identify, you know, speakers, you research their work, and you get inspired, you know, through that as well. You discover new opportunities, and it's because it's free for your audience. It's a big value give, basically, right? They get to benefit a lot from it.
So if let's say our audience out there, like they actually miss the summit, like is there any way that they can actually check it out or replay it, or like how do they check it out?
Yes, exactly. So I'm just in the process of kind of like, you know, moving that, but basically onlinegrowthsummit.com. By the time you hear this podcast, it's going to be live, basically. But basically, you can still purchase our bonus bundle. So we offer. So the event was free to attend. So because I want to make it accessible, you know, for people to learn about online strategies, right? Because it's been a tough year for most business owners. But if you missed it, or if you just want to have like the recordings, then you can still buy the bonus bundle like on the website, onlinegrowthsummit.com. Yeah.
We'll put the link down below. And also, last thing, Luli, can you tell our audience, like they really love your content, how do they stay connected with you?
Yeah, so for me, the best channel is actually LinkedIn. So it's Luli, Luli, and then if you put Blooming Founders, you'll find me. Yeah, that's the best way to connect. And if you put into your note that, you know, you heard me on June's podcast, then I would definitely accept you.
Awesome.
Because I get a lot of requests, you know, filter a little bit.
Totally get it. So guys, I will actually put down the links to the Online Growth Summit as well as Luli's LinkedIn in the comment section down below. If let's say you're watching from Facebook, it will be at the comment sections. If let's say you're watching from the YouTube, it will be in the descriptions as well as in the podcast as well. So thank you so much, Luli. It's our pleasure to have you on this episode today.
Thank you so much, June, for having me. It was great.
No problem. Take care. Bye.
Bye.